you've been living under a rock the last hour or so, breaking news just happened. Uh, Gave out a short about it. Mike McCarthy is looking like he is the new head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we just go jump into my thoughts. Give you a little bit of context on why I think the Steelers did it. Then I'm also going to give you my thoughts on did I agree with the move or didn't agree with the move. Guys, like, share, subscribe to D Knows. It helps us grow a lot. Uh, do the live shows Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. So if you guys want to be a part of the live discussion and the live show, make sure you guys come pull up, come hang out with us. We have a good time over there, and we're continuing to grow that show. So if you're interested in that, come on through. But got to get into this. So I was not. Let's just touch on Art Rooney first. Art Rooney the second. This was one of the most safest moves I have ever seen, but it is typical Art Rooney the second. Why do I say that? I say that because he is holding up the weight of his father, Dan Rooney, the whole Rooney lineage, that whole thing, and he does not want to screw it up. And in the midst of him not wanting to screw it up, you're going to get moves like this. The Pittsburgh Steelers were known for thinking outside of the box, even when they hire head coaches. Bill Cowher, he came from the Marty Schottenheimer, was on staff with Belichick back in those days, the early '90s, '80s with the Brown staff. No one was looking at Bill Cowher as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were not looking at him as a front runner to be that guy, and they surprised a lot of people at that time. Um, and I want to say, think they were looking at Chan Gailey in the early '90s before they hired Bill Cowher. So you history buffs, NFL buffs, Steeler buffs, let me know if I'm right or wrong because I am doing this video off the dome because I wanted to get my thoughts out fresh, and there was not a live show that I was doing today. I'm actually supposed to be relaxing with my family and watching movies, but I had to do this. So, uh, also you had the hire with uh, Mike Tomlin in '07. Defensive backs coach for the Minnesota Vikings at the time. And no one saw him coming. I think at the time people was looking at was it Mike Munchak at the time? Um, I can't think of the other guys at this point in time. But like I said, leave it in the comments and let me know who the Steelers were looking at that time. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I had just thought about it a while ago because guys, I know the Steelers. And for them to go into 2025 and they follow tradition everywhere else, for Art to make that decision, he was scared to make the wrong one. What do I mean by that? The Pittsburgh Steelers have never been in a rebuild. The Pittsburgh Steelers' worst decade of football, and not even a decade, maybe 5 years, was the '80s. After they had won 4 Super Bowls. So they got a reprieve then. So they had a little bit of bad football in between that, but they kind of rose back up into prominence in the late '80s, early '90s. They wasn't as good as they had been, but they coasted. They coasted until they got Bill Cowher, and the expectations really ramped back up. And as we know, 30 something years later from when Bill Cowher was hired, they've had expectations. Did Mike Tomlin live up to the expectations after a while? No. Reason why he stepped down. Now, with Mike McCarthy, I will say this. Mike McCarthy's run in Dallas produced 3 12-5 seasons. The offense ran good. The defense was decent. They're just the Dallas Cowboys. And no offense to Dallas Cowboys fans, but it's a black cat walking across that stadium. I don't know. Luck just goes out the window. So he was a victim of the Dallas Cowboys curse. And when it was time to get to that point and make that leap to get to that NFC championship, to that Super Bowl, they could just never get over the hump, and Mike McCarthy couldn't put him over it. So Mike McCarthy is 62 years old, but he's a fresh 62. It's not like he's been out of the game and he hasn't coached in a while. He was only off a year. Like I said, he did pretty well with the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones let him go for the reasons he let him go, and no one really trusts Jerry. So okay, fine. Uh, he also comes over into a situation where he is friends with Andy Weidel, and I think a real great relationship with Andy Weidel, and I think with Omar Khan, if I'm not mistaken. He's already a Pittsburgh kid. His roots is embedded in Pittsburgh. Um, when he's in town, he always talks about going to his favorite watering holes and his favorite restaurants and things of that nature. So he is a Pittsburgh kid, a Yinzer as they call him, through and through. And I think Art looked at that whole situation and he wanted to be so safe. He looked at it, Mike McCarthy as somebody who can probably build a quarterback, someone who's not going to rock the boat. They're not going to have to go through a full on rebuild. If you heard what Art said about a week ago, is they don't want to go through a rebuild. So any of you Steelers fans that was looking for the Pittsburgh Steelers to do a full reset, they will not do it. And we kind of know how those results play out. Now you're hoping that you can get lightning in the bottle, you can rebuild these teams on the fly, and hopefully make a run for a deep playoff run or a Super Bowl. But 9 times out of 10, you're stuck in purgatory. And this is the problem that I kind of have with the move. It's not that it's a bad move, but it's really safe. And if I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, you had Mike Tomlin for almost 20 years. This was the perfect time to rip the band-aid off the wound. You cannot put 5 band-aids on a machete wound and hope it stops bleeding. You don't have a quarterback. You may have a quarterback in Will Howard. We don't know that. Maybe that's the reason why they looked at McCarthy because he could, maybe develop Will Howard and everything else. But this is so safe when you could have got a Nate Shieldhouse. You could have got my guy out of the other Rams coordinator, Chris Shula, the grandson of Don Shula. Could have got him. You could have got a Brian Flores. Now I don't know what exactly happened with the whole Brian Flores thing, but they had him in the building. They knew how he worked. I thought that would be the perfect fit that would carry on the Pittsburgh's tradition of having defense first coaches like Chris Shula. And maybe he can assemble a staff. Now I don't know what all went into the interviews, and I'm going to try to get some information on that. But Art and Co. That means Omar Khan and Andy Weidel. These young guys, and this is just an opinion, and I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong about this. They must not been certain in these guys being able to build up a coaching staff around them, being that they're younger guys. Can they build a coaching staff under them that will help support them? Because, like I said, with the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last 30 plus years, they've had young guys that could come in and young unknown coaches come in and they were able to build coaching staffs. And I'm thinking that may have played a part in this. When Mike Tomlin came in, he had Bruce Arians. You see what I'm saying? He had Dick LeBeau, so he had guys that he could lean on that were veterans in their craft. And all Mike had to do was become a CEO. Somewhere in this process, they must have felt like these younger guys could not be CEOs and land a staff that would give them support. Now, this is like I said, this is just me thinking off the top of my head because this was very safe. And if it was me, I would have went the route of the Shield House of Brian Flores. Those type of guys. Because, like I said, at the end of the day, if the Pittsburgh Steelers culture is about, you know, we've only had 3 coaches in 100 years. Well, Mike McCarthy's 62 already. Do you feel like you're going to get at least 10 years out of him, or are you going to get 5? or you go get 3. Now, let me add some more context to this because, again, when you come over here to D Nose, you're not going to just get some hot takes. You're going to get real thought provoking things. And I want you guys to think about this. Did they hire Mike McCarthy to then maybe bring in some young and up and coming coordinators that they feel like maybe to be able to take over the mantle when Mike McCarthy steps down at some point? Like I said, Mike McCarthy is not a spring chicken. Like I said, for he knows the game, he's up on the game, he's the game is still relative in his mind, and obviously what he's doing in his passing game concepts have still worked. But again, he's 62 years old. So are they now thinking, let's have a succession plan to Mike? We get Mike here. He's a Pittsburgh guy. He knows everything, and he can come in and he can succeed Mike Tomlin without putting pressure on these younger guys to come in and take over that mantle that Mike Tomlin has held for almost 20 years. That could be a thing. That could be a thing. So we really don't know. I'm just spitballing with the rest of you guys. I'm not exactly sure what they were thinking. We'll find out this upcoming week on what the thought process was, what made them go for Mike, and what attracted them. But I will say this: it's a lot of synergy in that building. Mike McCarthy knows the whole front office and the ownership. Uh, like I said, well, art is about comfortability. Now, I always say this about the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise. You know, you don't want to get stale. You don't want to have continuity just for the sake of having continuity to say that we have it. Because if it's not getting you anywhere, it doesn't matter. So this move better pay off. Because if it doesn't, it's going to set the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise back 5 years. Because now Mike McCarthy is going to come in with his ideals on what he wants to see in the franchise. And going forward, he's going to have a lot of autonomy. And we don't know what this roster is going to look like this offseason. How much is he going to change? What he's going to add? What is he going to take out? You don't want, like I said, you don't want to confuse being consistent for stagnation. Like I said, Art did a very Art Rooney the second move, and he played it so safe and by the best. And I'm gonna tell you something. Pressure is something, and you can tell that the pressure is on Art to keep the Steelers franchise afloat until he maybe pass it on to his son, Dan Rooney the second, which is his son, who I heard is a fireball and a very energetic dude, and he has more modern philosophy. So I don't know if that's a situation where maybe the next couple years Art steps away and let uh, Dan Rooney the second take over. Maybe that's the thing where he can then come in and kind of do the coaching staff the way he wants to, but he wants to make sure the boat stays afloat. So we'll see what happens with this situation. Again, I wasn't expecting this. I thought they were going to go with one of the younger guys because that is the Pittsburgh Steelers track record to go with younger guys. And they talked about how they were so enamored with the Rams coaching tree and all these other things. And I just knew for sure it's either going to be Chris Shula or it's going to be Nate Shieldhouse, and they chose neither. Mike McCarthy is a guy, according to the sources, Tom Pelissero, Adam Schefter, and Ian Rappaport, and those guys. And stay tuned because I'm pretty sure a lot of information will be coming out about this. Pittsburgh Steelers fans, let me know what you guys think of this hiring. Are you with the hiring? Do you think it was a good hiring? Are you like same old Steelers? Let me know in the comments below. Head to the next video. Peace.